The kitchen felt cold, even though the lights were on. I held the sleek tablet box, my fingers trembling. Rain tapped softly against the window, leaving behind that wet asphalt smell that always stuck to the evening air in our neighborhood. Ryan Adler lounged in the doorway, arms crossed, that smug grin stretched across his face like he owned the world. "This is for you," my Janet Monroe said quietly, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. My dad nodded, stiff as always. Ryan's smirk deepened like he was already scripting the joke everyone else was about to play on me. I ripped open the wrapping, expecting maybe a pair of socks or some hand-me-down sweater. But no, there it was, an expensive Apple tablet, the kind no kid in our block ever got without special reasons. My heart started racing. Then I looked at the homepage. The homepage flickered to a message that stole the breath from my lungs. Who sent this? What did it mean? Why now, after years of being invisible, overlooked, almost like I was barely there? That weight pressed down on me, the same one I felt every time Ryan got all the attention, the laughs, the praise. He was the golden boy, the favorite. I was just Casey Monroe, the kid nobody really saw, but this wasn't just a tablet. It was a front porch, a challenge, and I wasn't going to let it close without stepping through. The next morning, detectives showed up at our front porch. I know it sounds like something out of a thriller, but honestly, that day felt like I'd been sent into someone else's story, a story that finally had me as the main character, not some background extra. Growing up, the line between love and neglect was thin at best. My folks had their favorites. That was Ryan, no question. And me? I was the spare chair no one really needed, but couldn't quite lose either. When that tablet's homepage lit up with the message, a part of me snapped awake. I wasn't just invisible anymore. I had questions, real ones. Why did they finally care? What were they hiding? And more than anything, what was I supposed to do with the truth when it hit me like a thunderclap? Ryan kept watching, eyes sharp as ever, daring me to fold. But this time, I wasn't backing down. Because maybe, just maybe, this was the moment where I stopped being invisible and started being unstoppable. Brand new, sleek, silver. I almost forgot how to breathe. My folks, they'd never gotten me anything this expensive. Not once. My grin spread wide. Wow, thanks. For a moment, I believed it. I believed they finally saw me. Not as the invisible kid, not as the spare chair. I thought maybe this was it, the moment things changed, that they actually loved me. But I should have known better. That night, I carried the tablet upstairs like it was a trophy. Sitting on my bed, I stared at the box, convinced it was proof I belonged somewhere. Then I opened it, and the cracks began. Tiny scratches on the silver surface, faint, but there. My smile faltered. Maybe it was secondhand. Not great, but still, mine. Then I noticed the keys. Some letters already rubbed off, worn down like they'd been used for years. New? No way. I told myself, maybe it's refurbished. People do refurbish. That didn't mean they didn't care, right? I powered it on. The homepage lit up, but then something glitchy caught my eye. A folder I didn't recognize, like a locked front porch inside a house that was supposed to be mine. Curiosity pushed me. I clicked. Most was grayed out, but then I was in. Hidden files. Files with weird names that made zero sense. Random spreadsheets, strange logs, confusing codes. My stomach twisted. This wasn't just a used tablet. It wasn't refurbished. It was someone else's. Deep inside, I knew whose. I slammed it shut like those files might jump out and slap me. Outside, the faint scent of rain dripped against the window, mixing with the cold silence. And then, from downstairs, I heard it. Ryan's laugh, loud and smug. The way he always did. The golden boy, the favorite. This wasn't a present. It was a discard. His tablet. Polished up just enough to fool me in the dark. And just like that, pride faded into bitter truth, leaving a sharp ache behind. Why would they give me his hand-me-down? Was this their way of saying I'd never be enough? Of confirming I was last in line for their attention? But I wasn't ready to accept that. Not anymore. Because beneath those strange files was a secret. A story they didn't want me to find. And I was done being invisible. I reached for the tablet again. This time, I wasn't looking for approval. I was hunting for answers. Ryan thought I'd fold. Thought I'd stay quiet. But I'm Casey Monroe. And this is my story now. For a moment, I just sat there, staring at that tablet on my blanket. The glow from my birthday still hung in the air, but it felt more like a bad joke. This wasn't care. This wasn't generosity. It was something colder. I remembered how they looked at me when I opened it. Janet Monroe with that tight, almost fake smile. Dad, quiet as ever. And Ryan, that smug smirk like he'd just won something. Back then, I told myself maybe they were just awkward. Maybe they didn't know how to be kind to me. But now, I wasn't so sure. I tried to brush it off. Don't overthink it. It's just an old tablet. No big deal. But my chest tightened anyway. Something in me screamed. This wasn't right. So I shoved it under my bed, thinking maybe out of sight meant out of mind. Nope. Even in the dark I could feel it, like the tablet was buzzing with secrets. And those faces, they kept flashing through my head. Something about that night was off. Way off. I wish I could say I was overreacting, that the next morning I laughed it off, that life went back to normal. But that's not how it went down. This tablet wasn't just some lame second-hand present. It was a reminder, a cold reminder that no matter what, I'd always be second best. And soon, I'd find out how deep that went. I didn't just wake up suspicious. I'd been trained for this. By my family. Ryan, the golden child from day one. Me? Just background noise in his spotlight. Birthdays were proof. His felt like national holidays. Towers of gifts, the newest gadgets, and Janet Monroe, glowing like she'd just given birth to a celebrity. Me? Second-hand toys, sweaters smelling like mothballs. Once they gave me a book on how to be more positive. Thanks for the love, I thought. When we were kids, the difference was brutal. Still shrouded in that uneasy midnight, my phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. Uncharacteristic. Cryptic. Did you find anything inside yet? Don't show Janet Monroe. The room sharpened. I could hear the AC humming, feel the cold edge of the tablet against my skin. My pulse roared in my ears. Suddenly, the present wasn't just a symbol of neglect. It was a hidden message. Every glance from last night clicked into place. This was more than favoritism. It was a secret. And Ryan wasn't just the golden kid. He was guarding something. Something they didn't want me to see. So I opened the tablet again. This time, not for approval, but for the truth. I still remember Ryan's 10th birthday like it was yesterday. He got this shiny new bike, bright red with racing stripes that screamed, "Cool." Everyone was clapping as he sped around the driveway like he was filming a commercial. Then came my turn, a year later. Guess what I got? His hand-me-down bike. Mud still caked on the tires, a tired old bow slapped on top, and the usual warning. Don't complain. That was the pattern. He got the brand new iPhone. I got the cracked, outdated one after he upgraded. He got fresh shoes from the store. I got the same pair, buried in a box handed down 6 months later. I used to joke my middle name was previously owned. No one laughed. By our teens, I stopped pretending anything would change. Ryan was the one. Older, smarter in Janet Monroe and Dad's eyes, their favorite. I was the background noise, forgotten lyrics in their favorite song. When he moved in with his girlfriend, I thought, the house will be quiet now. Maybe I could finally exist without feeling invisible. But no, he was still there, showing up at the folks' place all the time, sometimes with her, sometimes alone. And every time he'd disappear into his old room, slamming the front porch like it was Fort Knox. Hours spent in front of his tablet typing like the fate of the world depended on it. I barely existed in those moments. Knock, and he'd snap. Ask what he was doing, and he'd smirk. It's nothing you'd get. At first, I shrugged it off. Gaming? Some side hustle? Wasting time? Whatever. Not my business. But then it hit me. The tablet. The silver Apple logo, gleaming like a trophy. Ryan Adler's crown jewel. When my 18th birthday rolled around, they handed me my present. A tablet. Not new, scratched, a little worn. The same one. The spark inside me twisted. This wasn't just another letdown. One night, the room smelled like burnt circuits and stale coffee. The tablet homepage flickered stubbornly in the dark. My fingers hesitated. Then I heard it. Ryan's voice, soft but unmistakable behind me. Casey. I froze. He wasn't just the smug, older brother. He was watching me. And every sarcastic comment, every tossed-out present, not careless. Ryan had been collecting dirt, proof of our family's secret favoritism, all this time. So I faced him. The tension was thick, almost too heavy to breathe. What was he hiding? Why keep it all locked up? This wasn't just about me feeling ignored anymore. It was about uncovering what he was protecting. And why. The fight for respect was no longer mine alone. The air hung heavy, like right before a storm breaks. Every shadow, every breath felt loaded. I sat on my bed, the tablet lying there like it was waiting, daring me. I couldn't shake that sick feeling, the one that knotted my stomach in tight circles. This wasn't just some crappy present, handed off like last season's leftovers. No, it was a setup. Janet Monroe's tight smile, Dad's quiet silence, and Ryan's smug smirk glaring like he already won before the game started. They weren't giving me a present. They were watching me unwrap a trap. All those years of being the second, the leftovers, the invisible one. They'd broken me down, built me up to expect nothing, to brace for the worst. But this time, I'd let myself hope. Big mistake, because hope makes the fall hurt like hell. I stared at that tablet, chest tight, the quiet clicking of the house pressing in around me. It didn't feel right. I told myself to chill. Overthinking, tired, too much drama. But I knew better. Something about that tablet was wrong. Real wrong. The next day, it sat there again, humming with silent menace, like a rattlesnake tucked in a shoebox. I kept walking past it, trying to pretend it wasn't there. Then I caught it. The voices. Whispered voices slicing through the quiet. Janet Monroe's low hiss, Dad's deep rumble, and Ryan's smug chuckle. Usually, I wouldn't care. I'd just get a glass of water, make a sandwich, be invisible. But something stopped me. My skin crawled. "Don't go in," something whispered. So I froze. Then, barefoot and silent, I crept down the hall, gliding over the carpet so it wouldn't creak. I pressed myself against the cold wall outside the kitchen front porch. Heart pounding, palms sweaty. I was a kid again, sneaking cookies past bedtime. Except now, what I was about to steal wasn't a snack. It was the truth. The kitchen buzzed with tension, thick like a heat wave in July. At first, their voices were normal, almost boring. Dad muttered about bills. Janet Monroe grumbled over groceries. For a second, I almost thought I'd imagined it all. Maybe I was just too worked up. Then Ryan's voice cut through, sharp and full of that smug confidence. "She'll just think it's secondhand. Too dumb to notice anything else," he sneered. My stomach flipped. I slid my phone out and hit record without thinking. If I was wrong, I'd delete it later. But if I wasn't, proof. Janet Monroe's voice snapped like broken glass. "If you hadn't decided to scam people, we wouldn't be in this mess. And you couldn't even cover your tracks? Forgetting the VPN? Seriously?" VPN. I knew what that meant. Privacy, hiding footprints online. But Ryan, usually careful with his tablet, had slipped. "Relax," he shot back defensive. "The cops can't prove a thing, and even if they did, the tablet's not mine now." My heart hammered louder than a drum in my chest. I pressed tighter against the cold wall. Dad's voice, calm and too smart for me, sliced the air. "If the cops come knocking, it won't be for you. It'll be for her. The tablet's in her room now. She's 18. They won't do much to her." I nearly dropped my phone. There it was, the setup. The scratches, secret files, partitions that didn't add up. They didn't give me a present. They gave me a time bomb, and they were ready to watch it blow up in my face. Ryan laughed, low and smug. "She won't even figure it out." I almost stormed in and wiped that grin off his face, but I didn't. What was I supposed to do? Fight a family that wanted me to fail? Or find a way to turn their trap against them? The silence after his laugh was worse than any shout. The whole house held its breath. And so did I. The walls of my childhood room were a soft, pale blue, but the corners still held the echo of last year's birthday. The faint scent of vanilla cake hadn't quite masked the tension hanging heavy in the air. Ryan's loud laughter spilled down the hallway, confident and smug, drowning out my own. I remembered the weight of the present resting in my lap, his fingers brushing mine as he said, "Open mine first." Even now, my heart twists at the memory of Janet Monroe's approving smile settled on him, barely sparing me a glance. The sting of being invisible, sharpened by the sweetness still lingering on my tongue. My hands were shaking too much, throat tight, heart pounding. Thank God my phone was still recording. I slipped back from the doorway, careful not to make a sound. Every nerve in me was electric, like I'd touched something I shouldn't have. I'd always known they favored Ryan, always known that I was second or maybe not even in the race at all. But this was betrayal. They didn't just overlook me. They used me, set me up like some pawn in their twisted game of protecting Ryan. Back in my room, I shut the front porch, locked it. My breath came fast and shallow. I pulled up the recording. Their voices filled the room, cold and clear. Proof. I sat on the bed, eyes locked on the tablet on my desk. My birthday present. Really just a trap buried in shiny plastic. I wanted to scream, to smash it into pieces, but I didn't. Instead, I started packing. Not like someone heading out for a weekend trip. I packed like I was running for my life. Wallet, phone, charger, clothes, and the tablet. My hands trembled so much I dropped my charger twice. My brain buzzed with panic, anger, disbelief. They really did this. My own folks. And Ryan. Always the golden kid. Always the favorite. I paused, looked around my room, the posters, the books stacked on my nightstand, the blanket on my bed, the last 18 years of my life. And none of it mattered. None of it felt safe anymore. I zipped my bag, slung it over my shoulder, opened the front porch, and called down the hall, "I'm going to a friend's. Be back later." My voice didn't waver. Then I stepped outside. The night air hit me, cool, sharp, real. The sound of rustling leaves and distant cars felt like a new beginning. I was stepping into the unknown. But this time, I wasn't invisible anymore. Not to myself. Not anymore. The streetlights flickered overhead, casting shaky shadows on the cracked pavement. The air was thick with silence, and a storm of thoughts I couldn't shake. My heart pounded loud enough to drown out the distant hum of cars. I gripped my bag tight, my only lifeline now. Ryan's smug laugh echoed behind me, sharp and cold, like a knife twisting deeper. But it wasn't just his laughter that haunted me. It was the files I'd uncovered, buried secrets hidden inside that tablet, secrets my folks were desperate to keep locked away. What had I really stumbled onto? Was I running away? Or chasing a truth so raw I wasn't ready to face it yet? The damp smell of rain teased the night, leaves rustling softly as if the city itself was holding its breath. The silence pressed, demanding answers. What was really in those files? And how far would I have to go to uncover it? I didn't stop moving. Every step felt heavier, but I could never turn back. Not after everything. Ryan, always the golden kid, always wrapped in their blind trust. Me? I'd been invisible for too long. The recording on my phone was proof, but it was just the start. I didn't pack for comfort. No neat piles or second thoughts. My wallet, charger, clothes, thrown together like I was escaping a nightmare. But I wasn't running to a friend's house. I couldn't risk dragging anyone else into this mess. Instead, I headed straight to the detectives, the tablet burning a hole through my backpack. At the station, my hands trembled as I slid it across the counter. I laid it all out, the hidden files, the recording, the betrayal, expecting disbelief, dismissal, more silence. But instead, they listened. Not judgmental, not amused, just serious. Taking notes, securing evidence, the quiet permission to finally fight back. Walking back into the cold night, the world felt different. Unsteady but mine for the first time. I slipped into a grim hostel. Stained carpet, creaky beds, strangers I couldn't trust, but no one looking at me like I was less than. Alone, yes, but no longer invisible. What happens next? Would my folks let this go? Could I trust anyone, not even Ryan? The night was far from over, and the secrets were just beginning to unravel. The mattress springs groaned beneath me, every creak a reminder that last night's courage had faded into raw nerves. My phone lit up again, Ryan's name flashing like a warning. Each call sent a jolt through my chest. Was he coming to gloat? Beg? Or finally spill what really happened with the tablet? I stared out at the rain streaking down the window pane, the scent of wet pavement filling the room. Every drop sounded like a countdown I couldn't stop. Could I let another day slip by without an answer? Or was this the moment everything would crack wide open? I locked myself in bed, clutching my backpack beneath my pillow. My phone buzzed like an angry wasp trapped in a jar. At first, the messages were tender. "Where are you? Are you okay?" For a second, I almost broke, almost sent a lie to keep the peace, almost slipped back into the good daughter I was supposed to be. But then, Ryan's smug laugh echoed in my head. It'll fall on her. So, with shaking fingers, I typed, "I'm not coming back," and hit send. The bridge burned. Morning dragged me out of bed into a bathroom that smelled like mildew and lost hope. At work, I pasted on a smile. I joked with customers, restocked shelves, moved like a ghost. Inside, I was screaming silent. My phone buzzed all day, drowning in missed calls. Over 40 by closing time. I didn't answer once. Day 2 in the hostel was no better. The spring stabbed my ribs all night, and every time I shut my eyes, Ryan's smug voice sneered, "She won't even figure it out." The messages from my folks changed. Less worry, more edge. "Call us. We need to talk." I ignored them. I kept glancing at the front porch, terrified they'd show up at work. And on day 3, they did. I was wiping down tables when I saw them outside, their faces sharp with quiet judgment. Janet Monroe's jaw was tight. Dad's arms crossed. They just watched me like I was some stranger. My blood ran cold. I didn't look up. I kept busy, pretending the weight in the air wasn't real. But their eyes drilled into me the whole shift. When the clock hit closing, I slipped out the back front porch and ran straight back to the hostel. That night, I lay awake, heart pounding, convinced they were watching, waiting. Then, day 4 cracked wide open. They stormed into the shop like a thundercloud. Janet Monroe's voice was a hiss, sharp enough to slice through the noise. "What did you tell them?" Muted city noise slips through the cracked window. Sirens wail in the distance. Car horns blare, and the faint rustle of leaves brushes against the pavement. The blue glow from my tablet casts shadows across my face, shadows that seem to shift with every blink. My fingers tremble as I replay the footage Ryan left behind. And then I see it. Him. Ryan, carrying my bag like it's no big deal, that smug grin playing at the corner of his lips. The camera caught it, but no one else did. The breath whooshes out of me, cold and heavy. This wasn't just family drama anymore. They weren't just ignoring me. They had already picked their side, before the fight even began. My dad's voice rumbles behind Jan, my coworker, snapping me back. Why are the detectives at our house? The cafe goes dead silent. Everyone's eyes lock on me. My throat tightens like I swallowed concrete. For years, I bottled it all up, being second best, told to be grateful for crumbs. But something inside flips. You tried to frame me, I shout, voice raw, shaking the room. Heads turn sharply. Janet Monroe's face drains, then flushes. Dad's glare could crush steel. Ryan's laugh echoes in my mind, smug, confident, untouchable. Ryan Adler's not here, but I feel him deadly close. I lean across the counter, fingers gripping the edge. My voice drops, cold as ice. You tried to frame me. No one denies it. They just glare, then storm out. Doorbell ringing a sharp goodbye. Coworkers whisper. The air buzzes with things unsaid. But I don't cry. Not yet. Back at the hostel, my phone erupts with voicemails, poison dripping from my folks' voices. You betrayed us. You ruined your older brother's life. You destroyed this family. The words crawl under my skin. I let the calls go unanswered until silence finally takes over. Day 5 arrives. My phone hums with a new message. I don't answer, but I listen. Janet Monroe's voice, sharp and bitter, slices through the silence. Are you happy now? Your older brother's been arrested. The detectives took him away. He's in jail because of you. I sit on the edge of the bed, the nylon springs squeaking beneath me. The harsh words should feel like victory, proof I wasn't the crazy one, proof I wasn't the problem. But instead, there's just this hollow ache, because even with Ryan behind bars, my folks still don't see. To them, I'm the villain, the traitor, the one they toss aside without a second thought. The next morning, I walk into work like nothing happened. I flash the smile everyone expects, take orders, hand out change, pour coffee, but inside, my hands shake. My heart pounds like it wants to break free. That's the thing about surviving a family like mine. You learn to keep steady, even when everything inside feels like it's falling apart. You get really good at wearing masks, hiding every crack and scar so no one sees. That phone buzzing again. Another voicemail full of blame, of anger. I never answer anymore. But this time, the mask wasn't for them. It was for me. Because I wasn't their scapegoat anymore. I was free. Months passed. Ryan Adler wasn't the favored son anymore, not the confident, untouchable golden boy. He was an inmate now. The courtroom spilled the truth. He'd been conning older folks, 60, 70, even 80 years old, telling them he'd invest their savings in cryptocurrency, make them rich. But he never bought a thing, just kept their money. 27 victims, almost $180,000 stolen. For some, that was their whole retirement. For others, everything. The judge showed no mercy. 5 years, maybe less. My folks? They didn't forgive me. Not for standing up, not for telling the truth. The calls came, rage, desperation. Then I blocked them all out. Now, my world is quieter. I live on my own. It's small. The wall's thin, the sink leaks, but it's mine. I pay the bills, buy the groceries, walk through my front porch and feel something new. Peace. For the first time, I'm not bracing for the next betrayal. The tablet they gave me to break me, it saved me. So, did I do the right thing? Did I go too far? Or not far enough? You tell me.